My revolution is just to inspire everyone. Let the mask be removed.
Welcome to the What's Your Revolution show, a show for men and the people who love them, where we discuss how men can find and embrace the revolution within themselves, where people can find and embrace the revolution within themselves. I am your host, Dr. Charles Corprew. You know what I'm going to say. What's good, revolutionaries? I hope all is well with you and that you are doing your thing in the world. I know I have been. And at the recording of this show, it is my favorite time of the year. And you all know, if you know me, if you know Charles Corprew, what my favorite time of the year. It's summertime. That's right. And I am a summer baby. I am a water baby. I want to get my summer tan on, revolutionaries. As I tell people, I do not want to be anywhere near my birth color. It is a opaqueness. Let me tell you. It is a paleness. It is definitely a paleness. So I am, at the recording of this show, spending copious amounts of time at the beach, in the water, surfing, bodyboarding, kayaking, anything that I can do to be in a body of water and outside, because the summer is my time. It gives me life. For some reason, revolutionaries, it is my time to glow. Ironically, it's my time to shine. The summer sun gives me something. It allows me to be free. It gives me the motivation to move forward. Maybe because my birthday is the unofficial start of summer for me, and so that's what I'm doing. And for the last couple of years, I've been able to spend some of the summer with one of my good friends. And then, yeah, there he goes again. Revolutionary is always about a good friend. That's right. I got a lot of good friends. Let me tell you. But one of my good friends that I met a couple of years ago, and yes, revolutionaries, he is a man of Omega. I know you're tired of these damn Omegas being on the show, but I told you once before, guess what? Men of Omega are good men, and we surround ourselves with good men. So I met my guest today, best-selling author, CEO, Joe Lee, a couple years ago, and we have been hanging out ever since. And he and his beautiful daughter, Miss Carson, and I, and whoever comes to the beach with us, have been rejoicing at the summer sun. So I want to bring on and say hello to my dear friend, my frat brother, as I said earlier, the best-selling author of Ripping Off the Mask. Make sure that you go and get it on Amazon, everywhere that you can get books. The bestseller, Ripping Off the Mask, Joe Lee. What's happening with you, bruh? How are you?
Nothing much, Charles. Nothing much. How do you want me to refer to you on this show? Dr. Charles Corprew or Charles? How are we going to do this today? Because we solidify ourselves at the beach, and man, we have an awesome time.
Yeah, we do, brother. You can just call me Charles today. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I want to get it right. I want to get it right for all your listeners out there.
But you know, at the end of the time, you be calling me Chuck, and I'll be giving you a side eye like, it's not my name. It's not my name. It's not my name. But
understood,
it's all good,
brother. Understood.
No. You call me whatever, wherever the spirit moves you, my dear brother. You call me. That's how we make it happen.
Well, no, I thank you first and foremost. You know, your highness of Mr. Corprew, Charles in charge, Dr. Charles, all of the above, brother. I love you, man, for everything that you do out here and for the voice that you bring to the nation and the inspiration that you give those who probably need a word that they need to lift them up. So I thank you, and I'm glad to be here today.
Yeah, I am happy to be here with you, brother. Like I said, the beach, being able to coalesce, man, it's nothing like brotherhood. It's nothing like good brotherhood, you know. Behold how good and pleasant. I'll stop there. But yeah, brotherhood is good. I think about all the Omega men that listen to the show, all the good Omega men that have been on the show. Shout out to you, all of the men and women who listen to this show. We want to give you a big thank you for being supportive of this revolution, and we hope that the words that you hear today will be supportive of your revolution. Joe, like, I just gotta ask this question: like, how are you? Like, what's good with you?
I'm good, man. I can't complain. My daughter is doing well. I'm striving forward in this government contracting space as a small business owner, man, even with all the additional restrictions and requirements that they lay down on us today. So I can't complain. Why complain anyway, man? Nobody's going to listen. It will go in one ear and out the other ear, man. But I'm very elated. My daughter's in private school and she's doing well, averaging above 95% in all of her classes. Just this weekend, man, I'm very excited to say, man, that she just became a district champ, winning first place in one of the events and second place in another event, man. So I'm very elated. And not only that, just last month, she was named state champion in 3 events. So she's not only a district champ, she's a state champ too as well in Taekwondo, man.
Nice. Brother, congratulations to Miss Carson. Anybody that sees us, she's a beautiful little queen, exuberant and lively. And that talks about how she's being raised. And I could jump in and, at, the outset of this talking about the book, but I want to jump in here. What's it like raising a young lady, and then I'm going to ask you, what's it like raising a champion? So first talk about that. What's it like being a father, a black father, raising a young black female? And what has it been like for you? And what are the things that you want her to achieve as you continue to pour into her?
Okay. So there are a couple of things. First and foremost, I'm very glad to raise a beautiful princess that will aspire to be a queen. I can already see that she is on her way. Technically, she's becoming very sound. She has this impression to be a doctor in life, and I continue to push her down that track too as well. So for me as a black father in today's society, where we've come from, and we've come a long way, it is exuberant, if I can say that.
Yeah.
I don't see that it's difficult. Life has its challenges. And so for me as a father to a little girl, it's great. It's making me want to work hard. It's making me want to overcome those obstacles and adversity against all odds, just as the book talk about.
Yeah.
So I take on the persona that I'm alone in this process, right? What would happen if her mother was not here? Even though her mother is here and in her life. So for a single father, I had to think about my strategy and think about how I wanted to pursue things with my daughter. And I do everything every day to nurture her. I try to plan our schedules. I plan her schedule and I plan my business schedule around her schedule.
Yeah.
From a female perspective at the age of 4. As most parents do, they shack up in the bed with their kids when they're so little or let them come lay in there. I have oftentimes at the age of 4, because at 3 it just wasn't going to happen, where I had to lay on the side of the bed and then she goes to sleep, right? And then she'd be right in that room right behind me 2 seconds later. So at the age of 4, I really start putting her in her room like, hey, you have to stay in your bed. You have to stay in your bed. And some nights it's still hard, right? So I have to either lay across the foot of the bed.
She loves her dad.
Yeah, you know it. You know it best. And I lay across the bed or sideways or something like that. But soon as she's out, I'm up and into my room. Now, where I can tell you that has taken it today is that at the age of 6, as of the last 6 or 7 months, she has pretty much been staying in her room, in her bed. And even if she has waken up sometimes to get up, I have carried her back into her room, right? Out of my bed, back into her room. But what I have found, though, over the last several months is that if she did get in there and sneak up into the bed, I found her covering me up, man, making sure that daddy was okay.
Yeah.
And then she laid in the bed right beside me and she tucked the pillow between us like I had always did when I laid in the bed with her just to put her to sleep.
Wow.
So, it was one of the moments that I had to sit up one night and I was just watching her, man. So, for me, it has given me greatness and cheer and joy, man. The other part is that her learning abilities, and as much as I'm just as hard on her as I would be a boy in a sense. So, and then
talk about that. Talk about that. Dive down on that.
Yeah. So think about it. So just like I would take and go train a little boy, come on, let's do your push-up. No, you can do it. Like, no, you're going to stick in there. You better not shed a tear. We don't cry over here. We're Lees. And I look right at her and I'm like, don't you shed a tear. Wipe it up. Wipe it up. You're grown. You're growing. You're strong. You're courageous. So I put that same type of encouragement into her. Again, it's about nurturing. I'm not a babysitter. I'm not just holding a spot until mommy comes home. I'm nurturing my daughter, and I'm doing the one major factor that all should be doing is I'm parenting. I'm not just being a father. I'm not just being a dad. I'm parenting.
Yeah. How do you juxtapose that, like with the strength, like, as a young black woman and say, I need you to be strong. I need you to not shed a tear, but juxtapose that emotion is good too. How do you teach her that she can show emotion, that she can be vulnerable, that she can be open up? Like, how do you also teach that other side to her? So
there's no silver lining. There's no silver bullet to it, right? I'll give you a perfect example right now. So over the last couple of years, I've taken her to amusement parks and things of that nature where she's gotten on the kiddie rides and she's wanted to go fast. Her little hot rod cars. I took a 12 volt and put it in 24 volt, right? And I boosted that speed up a little bit. And she was all for it. So we went to Pennsylvania this weekend for the districts. Had the opportunity to go to Hershey Park, and we went to amusement park. And so she's like, "Daddy, I want to go on the roller coaster. I want to go on the roller coaster." I say, I don't know if we're ready for that. So I found the most moderate, family-friendly one, but it still had a thrill to it. So she had her first experience this weekend, right? And man, that first drop is always incredible, right? And the second drop is kind of more mild. And after that, kind of settles out and then it breaks again. And I said, hold it, baby. Hold it. You can do it. I know you. Come on, let it go. Just let your stomach drop. You'll be okay. Just watch it and go down. And we rode it because I was sitting in the seat behind her. She wanted to sit with her little friend that was a little bit older. And yes, when we came to the stopping part to prepare to exit, she turned around again. I'm like, it's okay. Go ahead. Let it out. Go ahead, boo-boo. Let it out. Just go ahead. Let the emotion come. Because them eyes filled up and she was trying hard to hold those tears, man.
Right.
So, and then I cuddled her, man. I cradled her. I held her. And I'm like, you okay? You got it? You're still resilient. You're strong, but let it out. Go ahead. Daddy got you. And she was like, yeah, Daddy. She was in tears and my stomach felt like butterflies. I'm like, I know daddies too. I don't like roller coasters either.
I like that. Telling
I said
both of y'all being
too.
Vulnerable together. I love that.
And the other part, I had to take it to another level, right? So we got on a little gondola and rode it across and back. So that was a slow paced thing. And he was talking about it in the legs. I said, Daddy's legs tingling. I don't like this. I'm scared. I like being up here. I said, I'm going to fall in the water. She was like, no, you're not, Daddy. You're okay. You're going to be okay. Just hold on to me. I'm like, okay. So it's those things. It's being strong, but it's also being sensitive. Us men, we have to be in touch with our sensitive side. And we do. A little bit.
We as Omega men, we as Omega men need to be in touch with us and with our sensitive side as well. No, I believe that.
Yeah.
I believe that. And thank you for sharing that. I think that fatherhood is important. And I think that, hashtag girl dad, is important. We talk about raising boys and what that looks like. But the research shows that we are just as important to young girls, almost even more important in some occasions We know because we know mothers are going to be there, and I'm not shying away from saying of the importance of mothers. Like we know that when it comes to raising children, mothers are impactful and integral to their lives. But fathers are tremendous resource and reserve of emotion and vulnerability. If fathered, and we're not perfect people, and that is the biggest thing, dear brother, that when you can pour into your children and give them the breath of emotion, you can give them like I said, the breath of emotion that they need, they will actually grow up as stronger adults. When we stymie a certain side of emotion, as you and I both know in the work that we do, is that when you don't know how to express a full breath of emotion, you can be bereft. You can be bereft of one side of your life. And so I appreciate being able to watch you father this young princess and being a part of her growth. It is an amazing thing to see.
Yeah, so, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yeah. Joe, let's move into, as I said earlier, Revolutionaries. Joe is a best-selling author. Joe, when did the book come out?
It came out the second week in March. March this year.
Yeah. Ripping off the mask, and that is an interesting thing. I think about one of the papers that I wrote back when I was one of those professors who was writing and winning awards for the work that I was doing around Black boys. We wear the mask, and thinking about that, but ripping off the mask, that then juxtaposes that we wear the mask, but what happens when we rip off the mask? And so, as we were talking in the green room, why the title, Ripping Off the Mask?
Yeah. So that comes from my childhood background, growing up in New Orleans in the Night War Project, known as the infamous Desire Project.
Oh, man, the Desire.
The Desire Project.
Yeah.
The Lower Night Ward was nothing short of, you may not make it out of there, to be honest with you. Ripping off the mask, it takes on a whole lot. And in fact, here's the book right here, just so everyone can see it, Ripping Off the Mask. And when I first thought about the title, I went through this iteration with over 20 different designers from my publisher, and they went through an auction. And so it took several weeks for that title to come to life. We had pictures of my old neighborhood. We had different things about Desire or the Lower Ninth Ward. And we went through the auction between this and 4 others. It came down to choosing this title. And I sat and thought about that for a long time after writing down a number of different things that I thought would be the title for this book. And finally, it all hit me that looking at New Orleans and looking at the slavery days with the Indians back down south and how they hid the slaves from their masters back then. So you're talking about historical information that has only really started to come out and come to light since 2016. I think it was, when some of the Indian outfits that we make every year for Mardi Gras started to show up in museums. And now this is being done worldwide now. Those costumes can go anywhere from $1,000 to more in cost. Yeah. And so with that ignited it for me. And from there, it was about my life. And when you think about the different personas of my life that I crossed that were simultaneously happening throughout my growth period, I did a lot of things growing up. I went from Popeye's, McDonald's, Heckinger's, which was a home improvement store.
Right. I remember Heckinger's.
Drywall. Even as a little kid at the age of 7, 8, 9 years old, when they knocked down my old elementary school in New Orleans, back then, who really cared about child labor law? I was a little kid going across the street and the construction men say, go move them rocks over there and give you $1 or $2. Right. So I was always a hustler. And so we talk about hustling from a different light, and the reason of why we wear the mask.
Every day I'm hustling.
We talk about adversity. We talk about racism. We talk about prejudice today, and where that has taken all of us, and how sometimes we've had to do things under the cover of darkness. So that has a meaning in the business world. It has a meaning in the legal world. The cover of darkness And it has a meaning and definition, but it was like, I'm tired. I'm going to speak. I have accomplished a lot. I have done a lot. I have become a chameleon in my life in how I move, how I spoke, and how I've just been profound in my life to be successful. So ripping off the mask, it resonated from
Yeah.
beginning to where I'm at today. And as I wrote in the book in one of the chapters, I said, I'm not done yet. You know, I'm a workaholic, Charles. And I figure out how to manage my calendars. I figure out how to manage my daughter's calendar. And I just move forward in life. Life can be challenging. Life can throw lemons and apples at you all day with some oranges on the side and maybe a piece of kiwi over here. At the end of the day,
Little key lime.
You've got to go. You've got to move. You got to keep moving, and you've got to be resilient with the resources that you have before you. Maybe you remember this show that used to come on, MacGyver.
Man, I love MacGyver. That was
This
one of
guy
my
would take a
favorite shows.
paper clip
That was my look, MacGyver.
and a battery. I mean, he would find a way. So I used to watch that show, and I always thought about that. I'm like, how can I get out of this situation? How can I fix this problem? You know, when I was a little kid, I took an old television that we had, a 20-inch television, black and white, and it wasn't working. It had the little ear, bunny rabbit ears, and I took that thing apart and started filling it around with the transistors and the circuits on the board, not knowing what I was doing. But guess what? When I put
blowing stuff up.
Yeah, well, ironically enough, the picture cleared up.
Oh, I'm not mad at that.
Right. So that's why. That's the why.
Joe, is interesting because we think about ripping off the mask. And so I wonder why we feel like we had to put the mask on at all. And I want to give my revolutionaries an understanding. Like, if you've ever been to New Orleans, and particularly around Mardi Gras, and New Orleans culture is stoked in history. And the Mardi Gras Indians are a staple of New Orleans history. And if you go particularly on Mardi Gras Day or a Super Sunday uptown, downtown, you're going to see these eloquent and elaborate Mardi Gras Indian outfits. If you want to do your history, just Google the Mardi Gras Indians and their historical nature and what they mean to the city of New Orleans. It is an amazing thing to see. There is nothing like having a Mardi Gras Indian or Indians to show up, whether it be Jazz Fest or a second line on a Sunday or anywhere in New Orleans. If a Mardi Gras Indian shows up, you know that occasion is stoked in history, and it means that it brings out the best of New Orleans. But Joe, I come back to this question and asking, like, why is it that we as men, one, and then we as black men have to put the mask on at all? Like, why is there even a necessity for us to have a book called Ripping Off the Mask?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you asked the question with another question, right? I think we all have to ask the question of why. Why should we even be asking that question? Why do we? And if I had to say, I think about, and it's a situation in the corporate world, right? And whereas I saw colleagues of mine coming to work in jeans of the opposite color, and some that were of the same color, I chose to wear the shirt and tie, just like the presidents and the vice presidents that were officed on the same floor that we were as the IT professionals. I saw how they spoke and how they chatted with each other. I saw on Fridays when they said it's dress down day, some of these other individuals wore jeans and whatever to work. I chose to wear a polo collared shirt and khakis on dress down day. And I was often told that, okay, you're overdressed, or who are you trying to impress? I was in my role. I was in a corporate environment. I'm on the floor with the vice presidents and presidents. I'm in business, and it doesn't define me to dress like them or be like them. But as a black man coming up in society and to redefine the social norms or what people may or may not think about you, yes, I dressed as the professional I was. I felt that in a professional environment, you should be dressed a certain way. You should not come into the office haphazardly dressed, should I say. So as a black man today, ripping off the mask, today's society, I think many people are ripping off the mask and just speaking their words and letting it be told. The reality of life is that no one should have been hiding, or no one should not have been wearing a mask. You should be looked upon by who you are as an individual and what you've done, how you've succeeded, how you have appreciated others, and things of that nature.
Yeah. Joe, it's interesting you say that because as you're talking, I guess I wore a mask for a long time. Moving up corporate ladder, moving up in academia, always dressing better. My father, Charles Corprew Jr., went to work as the best dressed man that I knew. And people always ask me, like, why am I so well dressed now? And revolutionaries, you've heard me say this, is that my father made sure he provided for me not only a role model, but he provided the means for me to go out and purchase suits, tailored suits. I was able to go to, haberdasheries at a very, very early age because of my father. And he showed me. And I remember every time I used to fly, regardless of the class that I was in, I would dress up. I would wear a suit, wear a blazer and jeans, or I might get upgraded. And then when I started getting upgraded, I was always like, I'm in first class today. I'm going to wear a blazer and jeans, because that was what first class meant, that I had to look the part to be in first class. Fast forward to today, and I say this very eloquently, but also very truthfully. I just don't give a damn. No one would believe that, Dr. Corprew is tatted, new tat revolutionaries, has as many tattoos that I have. And I love them. They are a part of me ripping off my mask. And ironically, Joe, my mother hates my tattoos.
Really?
The first time that I got my first, for my revolutionaries who can see, my first tattoo is of my family tree. She called me a thug. my own mama, Joe, called me a thug. And then I had to explain to her what the tattoo meant, and then she started crying. It was then it became beautiful, but before that, I was a thug, and that is an interesting story in our household. I just got this new tattoo, which is a falcon that represents my father. My father, ever since he passed in 22, I've seen nothing but falcons. There's a family of falcons that live near my home. Everywhere I travel, I see falcons. And so I wanted to commemorate my father's life and then his afterlife in this assumption that this is the presence of my father. So I have this,
Sure.
as you see that I have our, my brands that are now tattooed, because I wanted them to look a little bit more professional. But I have, tattoos all over my body. That was me ripping off my mask.
Mm-hmm.
The other piece that I have to say, and I'll come back to my next question, Joe, is that part of this revolution for me this year is to not be a people pleaser. Those folks who listen to the show on a very intimate level know that I talk about my revolution every year. My revolution this year in 2024 has been to not be a people pleaser.
Mm-hmm.
That's ripping off the mask for me,
Right.
Joe. That's me showing up as my authentic self. That's
Yes,
me
sir.
saying no. That's me saying, you know what?
No more.
This is not the person that I want to be.
Yeah.
The person that I want to be resides on the other side of the people pleaser, and I'm going to go and be that person.
Yeah.
So revolutionaries, I'm hoping that this resonates with you as you think about your own revolution and as you're thinking about ripping off the mask, because at the end of the day, what I realize is the world actually really doesn't give a damn about me.
Mm-hmm.
And how I show up.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I give a damn about me and how I show up.
Correct.
And
Correct.
once the greatest liberation and revolution that I've ever had in my life was realizing that what people think of me actually is none of my business. I actually don't give a damn. That's a part of ripping off the mask. That gives me freedom to be who Charles Corprew wants to be.
Mm-hmm.
And that is liberation.
Yeah.
That is liberation, Joe. So let me ask you this. You
before
wrote
you
this
go
book.
into your next question,
Go ahead.
So the other part that you want to add to that too, if you think about back in the day when racism and prejudice was really prevalent, the days when we was coming up as little kids, my mama and them didn't let us go out the house unless we was dressed right to go to Sunday church, right? You
That's
put on
right.
your Sunday best every day. So I was used to being told, "Boy, put your slacks on, put your shirt in your pants." All right. My mother raised two boys. You know,
got your Jabot jeans, huh,
yeah,
bro?
Jabot.
Jordan a
Jordache.
little bit. Got your Jabot jeans on,
Yeah.
huh, bro?
Yeah. So, again, it comes from that too, of being taught to always dress your best to impress, right? You dress to impress. We hear today on some of the marketing stages today, man. So it goes deeper there too as well. When I was coming up as a kid, mom just said, you all dress your best all the time. And when you go for an interview, tuck your shirt in, put on the little skinny tie, put the little skinny tie on, and you go in the interview and comb your hair, boy. I was a little nappy head, beady head boy back then, and I gave him hell, bro. I gave him hell.
I'm not mad. Well, you ain't skinny no more. You ain't skinny no more.
Yeah.
So, Joe, let me ask you this, dear brother. As a connoisseur of self-help books, and for the readers, what do you want them to get out of this book? What's the takeaway?
Let's take it from another angle though first, right? Let's do two parts. So let's talk about the audience, right? My book basically resonates deeply with individuals that are facing adversity, that are in the business world, who, like yourself and myself, that works endless hours a day, right? And we need that mental health break from those navigating through the challenges of poverty and crime, like stuff that I spoke about in the beginning of this. It's basically confronting your demons. So we talk about an audience that is wide, not broad. Broad, not narrow, and in circumstances. And it speaks to how you can be resilient, or those resilient souls that want to strive to overcome their obstacles and carve out a brighter future, right? And so when I think about my audience, it's something to offer them as a level of inspiration and empowerment to anyone that's grappling with those life complexities. So, two, if I think about it, expected outcome or the impact that I'm looking for my book to make, ripping off the mask, it's really to inspire those readers, to empower them, to offer them a roadmap to being resilient and successful. If I share my own story, I am hoping that they will see and hear my triumphs and tribulations, that I took negatives and turned them into positives.
Yeah.
That I will ignite something in them, right? So that will be an encouragement to them that will help them embrace their inner strength. So I am looking for those people who continue to pursue their dreams, be relentless in chasing your dreams, and I really anticipate that the book for me will be an outcome that will have some type of a ripple effect from a positive change perspective.
Right.
And that's really it. I just want the readers to draw from that, to be motivated by my story, but not only that, to create the path to their journey. Did you hear me now? Create their path to their journey. Most folks say, hey, I'm going to follow your path. I'm going to do what you do. No, don't follow them potholes. Okay? Don't follow them potholes in the lawn or in the road, however you want to say it.
Man, let me tell you.
So take that perspective and achieve greatness. That is the outcome that I'm expecting from this, whether you're a business owner or somebody that's dealing with the lowest part of themselves from a mental perspective. Because there are CEOs that deal with it any and every day. And I'm here to say there are some days that I used to sit in my office and I ask myself, why? Why am I doing this? Nobody cares about my sacrifices. I put in 20 hours a day. I put in 18 hours a day. I may have eaten twice a day. I get to the gym once a week. I done lost relationships. I'm no saint. I have lost some good relationships, and I'm not afraid to say that.
Yeah.
You know?
No, Joe, I love that piece because as we say here, one of the tenets of once you have a revolution, right, there are 5 tenets to fulfilling that revolution. And one of those, the 4th tenet is your revolution is not just for you.
Yeah.
When you find that little piece in your life that you want to transform, right, you basically, as you climb out of this, you have to lift. You know, you have to lift.
Right.
And your book is your revolution. You think about that. Your book is your revolution. And that if we believe in this tenet that your revolution is not just for you, you're now giving millions of people the audacity to be revolutionary in their own lives. I can pick up this book, Ripping Off the Mask, and now get a roadmap, a blueprint of how to then be a better version of myself, how to walk in the world as my most authentic self. And that's an interesting piece, Joe, when I think about what does the most authentic version of myself look like? And then how do I get to that version of my most authentic self? And then what is the consistent behaviors that showcase my authenticity?
Right.
That's the key, Joe. That's what I think I'm going to hope that the book resounds with folks, is that if we can get to the most authentic version of ourselves and then maintain that and be consistent to say, this is the most authentic version of myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm going to hope, revolutionaries, that the most authentic of your version of yourself is a good person. We got enough fucked up people in the world, right? You know, if you say this is my authentic version, but I would like to see in my prescription, I would like to see goodness in your authenticity, that there is love and hope and joy and kindness and reciprocity and vulnerability and forgiveness. And that's a big piece. And forgiveness. That because there's so many things that go on in the world when we are holding on to our mask. Think about that, right? I'm playing on this today, Joe. But when we have our mask on, there are so many things, there are so many ills that are atrocities that come, or we perceive that come for us, right? And the mask is trying to deflect, or this is who I am. But what happens if we rip off the mask, as Joe Lee says?
Right. Think about that.
Right. If we think about that, because the mask allows for vulnerability. The ripping off the mask allows for vulnerability. The ripping off the mask allows for forgiveness, right? Allows us to see the world from a different perspective. Because I think when we have our armor on as black men, we put that armor on, and we're so used to, Joe, being attacked, right? And that armor doesn't pierce us, or we won't allow it to pierce us. So when we rip off the mask, it allows us to be vulnerable. And in those moments of vulnerability, who are we? We are our most authentic selves. Yeah, and definitely. Can we forgive people can we forgive folks? Yeah. It's interesting, this power of forgiveness. Well, and our ability to see folks not as the worst versions of themselves. Well, hopefully we can find good. I'll stop there, Joe. Go ahead.
No, I was just about to say, no, you're hitting on all points. I mean, just think about the term hustler, man. People think the worst when they hear that term, hustler, street hustler, or it doesn't matter. And truth be told, the definition behind hustler is an enterprising individual, striving for success. And when you think about my journey of inspiration coming out of New Orleans, Ninth Ward Desire Project specifically, which was the last project built and the biggest. 13,000 people, 8,000 kids. Of that 13, one park, famous park, infamous park called Sampson Park, one pool, one rec center. There wasn't no mental health discussion back then. There wasn't no one saying, go talk to a psychiatrist. And not only that, Charles, here's the impact. It didn't come out until 2017 that the Desire Project was built on top of the city dump. And now they're equating that to some potential heart attacks, brain aneurysms, and other health problems. So, me coming out of there and building a career that took me through corporate America up to owning my own cybersecurity company is a testament to the power of resilience and determination. My experiences from being a hustler, from a letter A to the letter Z in life, and founding this company. Well, this is my second company, to be honest with you. I had a property management company. I didn't do well because I started that up in 2009 when the economy tanked. So my desire to uplift also played a role in my book of what I've done in the community, not only here, but in Maryland as well. I've helped over 70 something families in this community with my own money, where I funded Christmas for these families. So we're talking about over 100 and something kids, 70 families, disabled vets, homeless people, the elderly in homes. So I've got a page on Facebook called JL Families Lend a Hand Community Group. Well, we've done that. Well, we've done those things. So, I hope this is a great inspiration to those people who are listening, watching, all of the above, and that you will go out and get the book. If I had to say one thing for building a revolution, or I'll call it going through a life transition when you think about ripping off the mask, sharing my story, I not only confronted my past, but I also embraced it as a catalyst for growth, for empowerment, by shedding light on some of the overlapping things that happened in my life and the overlapping personalities or persona of my journey to get to where I'm at today. I transitioned from a life shaped by adversity to one driven by purpose and by resilience. The book serves as my testament.
Yeah, Joe, I love
my
that.
testimony.
My evolution.
My evolution.
Right.
So inspiring others to embark on their own journey. And that's what I can say to you, because we didn't even talk about the fact that, hey, I was in the male entertainment. That's why also you see this other subtitle right at the bottom, right? From hustler to entertainer to CEO. I was in the entertainment world in the DC, Maryland area. But you know what? That helped me with the sales and marketing side of myself and building business acumen from that perspective. From calendars, from marketing flyers to booking parties and knowing how to do all of these different things and how to put myself out there. We didn't even go there, Charles.
So you're right. So I didn't want some,
we're talking about the mask. Let's think about back then.
Literally the mask. The mask. That was his name, the mask.
You think about that when you think about the entertainment world, man.
Yeah. So
how many people live these different lifestyles?
If Joe Lee looks familiar to you, he looks familiar to you. Just want you to know that. I was trying to hold it low, but if Joe Lee looks familiar to you, Joe Lee looks familiar to you. Look. Yes, Joe was an adult, not an adult entertainer. He was an entertainer. Joe was a dancer.
An entertainer.
That's right. We won't call him an adult entertainer. He was a dancer. He showcased his skills all over DC, ripping off the mask. So, see, this is why I didn't. This is exactly why, because Dr. Corprew could be a clown. But it is interesting how to be able to think about entrepreneurship, and I think about that's entrepreneurship. Although I can have a lot of fun with it, being able to make a living doing what you do well is a story, because not everybody can do what you've done. And then write a book. Yeah. So to think about that, to use your entrepreneurial skills. I want to begin to land this revolution. Writing a book is not easy. And there are people who are listening to this show, Joe, who's like, wow, this dude wrote a book. Talk to them about what it took to write this book. And I really want you to go granular, coming up with a thesis, writing the book, marketing the book, getting it to a point of publishing. Walk us through that process.
So now we're digging back, and I'll try to be as quick as possible, but I'll try to be granular as well. This started back when I was in college and putting myself through school. This happened about 20 years ago when my professor took a 8-page paper that I wrote on the entertainment environment, and I gave it as a behavioral observation paper. And being in my environment, after coming off stage, I observed the women in that environment. And I wrote this very graphic and detailed book that the professor gave me a AAA on it and asked if he could release it to the class.
Oh, wow.
And he said, Mr. Lee, you should write a book and expand on every paragraph in this paper that you wrote.
Mm.
And so for years, the same paper had been hiding in a storage box that I've kept in the closet, again, hiding the mask. And finally, the beginning of last year, a business colleague of mine, actually female business owner in the same space, the cybersecurity space, getting to know me about 6 months, she was like, Joe, you need to write a book. I'm working on my book right now, and I cannot get it. You have a story to tell. And this woman had only known me for 6 months. She said, you need to write a book. And 2-3 months later, she was like, have you started your book yet? I said, no. Joe, we need to start your book. I'm gonna give you my publisher, and she pushed me down the track to write this book.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I had an experience to give I was selected to give an interview at the City of Virginia Beach Economic Development Office, by an organization called Hatch, and I was nominated to go speak to new entrepreneurs and things. So I did that, and the business owners that were there said, I've been in business for 10, 15 years. Now, mind you, I was only 3 years old at the time, business-wise. And it's like, you've inspired me to keep pushing forward. And it's like, wow, your story. One lady literally was in tears. And I received about 5, 6, 7, 8 cards from business owners saying thank you and just the inspiration just to have better insight. So that, too, also led to me really pulling this book together. Now, the process itself, once my colleague pushed me on that track, was make contact with her publisher and everything, and had the conversations. A couple of weeks later, I said, okay, pull the trigger. It can be expensive. It can be expensive depending on who you go with and where you're publishing. But the process to getting it written, you're right. I did this publisher class, and basically it was a class. Every day there was a check-in point to writing your book. And it gave you a roadmap to develop the outline, to talk about the different marketing tips that you could do and use. Wow. Generating the manuscript itself was, hey, go write, take these classes, but go write and just dump the information. Don't worry about fixing anything. Just go dump the information. Yeah. Me being me, I can't always operate like that. So I rewrote my book 3 times. And for the publisher, she was like, Joe, you should be done with this in 12 to 18 weeks at best. Right? At best, 12 weeks. You should be able to be done with a book. And the epiphany hit her around 9 months. She was like, wait, Joe, you own your own company? I said, yes. I said, I said, contracts come and go. Yes. She's like, I get it now. I understand why it's taking you so long. So if you do have the time on your hands, you can write a book in about 8 to 12 weeks. Okay. If you've got a roadmap from a publisher, or if you join some publisher class and the year-long class, they will put you through the ringer of all that to help you develop the outline, but you're going to have to dump the content in there. They will do the editing. They will do the reviews for you if you buy into all of that. So every publisher has different packages. With that being said, they developed my website too as well. They use a company to present the marketing aspect of it. They did the publishing push to Amazon and putting it out there and get it marketed out there. They did a webcast and a podcast like we're doing right now about the book. So we had that put out there along the way throughout the process. And the other aspect was when you were ready or close to ready, they sent you through another class that talked about, getting the outlines ready, getting the preamble page together, getting a back page story together, and getting the book cover together. And so that's where I compiled a bunch of pictures from my past and pictures that I inserted in the book too. But that's where the cover got developed. And now, mind you, they sent this information. Once I delivered it to them, they took it and sent it out to a bunch of different designers. Okay. And so they went and developed different themes around potential titles that I gave them, pictures that I gave them. And once I gave them a short synopsis of the book and what it was about, they were able to come up with different concepts. And then from there,
Right.
you take that and you put it out to the public. So you get what is
you do
called
your
your
A/B
ARC
testing.
team, right?
Yeah.
You get your ARC team. So you get about 20 people. That's just a figurative number that I'm using. And you send it out to them. Everything that you do about your book, you send it out to them and let them say, hey, you're getting a free look and first look at what's going to be in my book. I need your feedback. And so you start to receive that feedback from them. And even from the auction of the cover, I started to receive that book. And like I said, it came down to 4 different covers. And once I sat on those 4, I waited a while and then I came back and said, that's the book. That's it. Ripping Off the Mask. Dedicated to succeed against all odds.
Right.
That's
right.
it. Because again, I want to talk about my life too. So I put from hustler, entertainer to CEO.
Hustler,
So that's how
entertainer
it went.
to CEO.
And, you know, the other part of that was finally you get into that phase of now, is it done? Because once you do the final part and you say it is done, once you give it to them, there are no more changes. And then they go to publishing. And once that goes to publishing, that's it. Your book is on its way. Now they start to planning your initial virtual launch, all the marketing around it. They give you some slicks and slides to insert images of your cover. And then they have it on that D-Day. And it is the hope that you will make bestseller in several days.
Wow.
Right? And within 1 week, I made bestseller.
That's amazing. Joe, I appreciate that. I appreciate the granular nature of that.
Mm-hmm.
Revolutionaries, if you're thinking about writing your book, you know, as you think about this process of getting your story out to the world, this is probably the show that you need to listen to. Joe, I'd be remiss if I did not ask you our signature question. What's your revolution?
My revolution is just to inspire everyone. Let the mask be removed. Let the mask be removed. That's a tweetable moment. Let the mask be removed.
I love it.
You know,
I love it.
I say, ripping off the mask. Please go out, purchase it, buy it. The other place you could find my book is on my website, Joe Lee Writes. That's an S at the end. JoeLeeWrites.com. Okay,
and we'll put that.
We are working on the audio book, but you can get the ebook and you can get the paperback book. And if you're in an area near me somewhere, I'll come and sign it for you. So
all right,
come out
there you go. You can catch us at Grotan on Sundays with Ms. Carson. He'll sign.
We're at Grotan Beach either Saturdays or Sundays.
Saturdays or Sundays. That's right. That's right.
Other than that, you can catch me in One Life Gym too as well. Princess Anne or Greenbrier.
Dancing. Revolutionaries. This has been an ordinary show. When I say ordinary, it's been a great show with a great guest. Please make sure you go out and get Ripping Off the Mask. Right? It's going to change your life. And it's going to hopefully move you through the next phase of your revolution. And you know that we're here with you. And I ask that you go to whatyourrevolution.com, check out all the resources that we have for you. You can, if you don't know how to answer the question, there's a free guide there that will walk you through answering what we think is the most prolific question of your life, the most thought-provoking question of your life. And so make sure that you go to whatyourrevolution.com to check out those resources and check out all the things that we have for you. I love you. I love you. I love you. And know that we are here for you. And we will talk to you soon. See you next time. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
No worries. Peace.